Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to MediaScope's 7th live Friday afternoon chat. Today we're here to talk about a key industry issue. Cheers to you, Adam. Today we're here to talk about a fundamental industry issue. The real keep me awake at night issue is the way I see it, and we're going to talk about industry skill shortages. Joining me on the Brady Bunch panel today is Yasmin Sanders from AOL. Welcome, Yaz. Thank you for your T-shirt today. As I was saying before, I do have AOL here. You can't see it with the black, but as I said, AOL is close to my heart. Please, everyone, keep sending your T-shirts to me. I love wearing them on a Friday and talking about you. Gavin Heaton, the servant of chaos, a long-time contact of mine. Thank you so much for joining us, Gavin. I know that you've got some really good opinions on the skill shortages issue.
Oh,
Gavin,
I have opinions.
Opinions, exactly. Gavin, you're a man of many sort of talents. The Disruptors Handbook is one of your initiatives in market at the moment. It'd be great if you can give us a bit of an update on that as we're talking.
Mm-hmm.
And Adam Furness from Radio 1, thank you very, very much. And Adam, of course, are members of a Skill Shortages Roundtable, and we'll talk about that during the course of the conversation.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. Thank you for coming, everyone. And thank you also for joining us. Who do we have watching us? Brendan Cropper. Good to see you. Thank you so much for coming on in. And there's a few others watching us. Thank you very much. And, of course, this will also be – the replay will be put live on MediaScope about an hour after we finish. First of all, let's get to it. We've got a bit to get through. First of all, I'd like to ask each of you really about the position or the market position of this major industry issue. How exactly is it impacting our industry? How is it impacting your particular business? What are the good things that are happening? We should always focus on the good things when we're looking at the challenges as well. I also want to get a bit of a sense, particularly from Adam and Yaz, talked about ad tech bubble. There is some conversation that will burst at some stage, or at least there will be a level of consolidation. Is that going to impact this issue and perhaps alleviate it as an issue a little more? Yaz, if I can go to you first, just for your views on the sense of this issue in the market.
Yeah, definitely, Denise. I think, there's definitely a change in skills within the industry. Certainly, I'm going to draw on some of the experiences that I've had in the last sort of 14 years being in the industry. We did a lot of training initiatives with internal salespeople for broadcasters. So, because I'm a TV gal, so we did a lot of internal initiatives, which I'll talk about a little bit later on. But in terms of the initiatives that we're doing in market at the moment. As you know, we launched programmatic linear TV this year, and we're actually out in market doing a few TV bootcamp initiatives with a lot of the trading desks at the moment, because it is something that's new to them. A lot of them are digital natives. So we're sort of getting around to every desk at the moment and sort of taking it on I suppose, beyond upon ourselves to do these 3 by 1 hour sessions. So we've gotten around to we've trained probably plus in excess of 50 people at the moment, and we're getting great feedback. I think everyone's keen to do the sessions. They're just keen to know more about it because they're ultimately handling the trading for it. And the feedback that we're getting is really positive. And what we're actually doing off the back of the sessions is we're actually getting some really good data about how we can fine-tune the sessions, how we can make them better. And we have been as we've been going along. And what the key sort of theme for each, I suppose, screen trader in these trading desks is actually building the confidence to be able to trade television and also speak to the TV buyers themselves as well, because there is a lot of talking across agencies as well when these buys are actually happening. So in terms of if we're drawing a sort of industry stats as well, Adam and I were lucky enough to meet a couple of guys at LinkedIn at the recent data symposium, and we came across some pretty interesting initiatives that they're doing at LinkedIn. And one of them is using, I suppose, the data that they've got within their millions of subscribers that they have or members, and they're actually looking at what are the key skill sets in the Australian market that employers are looking for, and they're actually liaising directly with the universities to ensure that that skill set and those I suppose those courses are strongly aligned with where those skill sets are. I've got some stats, but I might sort of leave it over because I feel like I'm hogging the question time. But I can delve in a little bit more if you like, because I am a bit of a stat queen. But I'll hand it over probably to the guys to sort of extend on my comments.
We might come back to that. I also have the one or two stats that I found, which I have to say is the only thing that I've been able to find in the market. So yes, I want to talk stats, and we'll maybe come back to you and we'll talk stats a little later. Gavin, let's get your sense on this issue in the market. Where is it biting the most? How big is it? What are some good things that are going on?
So I think Yaz is right around the alignment with universities. So I've been having a lot of chats with different universities, but also the independent providers that are doing that gap between where you are at university and when you end up in the workplace. Yes. which is great. So it means that you're getting not just an alignment in around the skills, but some experience in doing these things. And I think that's the other piece around this, is that it's great to have skills and it's great to try them out, but whether you can actually deliver the business results that come off the back of the kind of work that you're trying to do with the technology and with your strategic programs, I think that's the current gap. I think there's not enough analytics, there's not enough skills in connecting the dots, and that's what we're trying to figure out.
That is exactly what we're trying to figure out. Adam, if we can come to you and again get a sense of what this, what exactly is this issue in the industry? There's a lot of talk about it, but let's actually define it.
Yeah, sure. So I mean, it's a big issue, right? Like, when I think about kind of where it lies, I think it's in particular skill sets in the industry and particular sort of roles. So we talk about a skills shortage, but I think it's quite focused around technical skills and skill-based roles, things like ad operations, things like data scientists, when we look at the advertising technology kind of piece. Less so in sales and business development related roles, although you see people moving between businesses, which I think is also a bit of an issue, in that new skills aren't coming or new talent isn't coming into the industry. And I think that's something we'll probably talk about throughout today on what do you do about that. When I think about some of the things that the industry is doing or how we can help, I mean, things like this I think is great. Getting a voice out there. The committee or the skills shortage round table, as we call it, I think that's a great initiative as well, and the engagement with universities. So I think we're certainly doing things about it. It's just not happening as fast as I would love. I get kind of, get quite anxious about this sort of stuff when I think about it. But it's just not happening. It's not happening as fast as I would love. And it was wonderful to meet Nick, it was, from LinkedIn, to talk to Nick about kind of what LinkedIn is doing about it. And I think we should probably draw on some of those learnings, if not today, in a follow-up session.
Yes, and I thank you. You also introduced me to Nick from LinkedIn after that conversation, and I will get some stats from him. And I know Yaz had some good stats from him as well that she can perhaps talk about today. Talking
Sure.
about that, moving from one agency to the other, I mean, that is the stat that I found on this issue from the MFA, the Media Federation. They do an annual survey of their media agency members. 26.4% of staff, and I think that this was a survey of about sort of 3,000 media agency people. 26.4% of what they term, leave an agency under what they call regrettable loss. So those are losses that they do regret. So they go overseas, they move agencies. About 5% leave the industry altogether. So if you think about it, there's a lot of a third of the industry from a media agency point of view is churning. And certainly from a vendor point of view, that's leading, of course, to enormous issues. It's all very well doing your education, Yaz, but if they're just going to be going from one place to another, that makes it challenging, to say the least. My issue also is with skill shortages, that is such a big issue in our industry, and of course we're not the only industry. 30% youth unemployment, 457 visas left, right and centre, particularly in programmatic and automated trading, and people being brought in on 457 visas with less than 2 years experience. We have become lazy trainers. Just to pick up on a point that someone else made, people of my age and stage in life getting squeezed out of the industry, great opportunity to reskill, to give them another 10 or so years in their careers. The other thing I see is, parents wanting to come back into the workforce to ask for some time off. I think we're not tapping into markets as well as we could be. See, I've given my solutions already because I'm passionate about this. I think it's such a big topic. Yaz, if I can maybe come back to you to get some individual views, and you did touch on this before, but I always remember when I started selling those banner ads in the mid-90s, how it was, you very, 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 yes, it's my fault, sorry. You very, very quickly realised how much you were going to be educating the buying market that you were going to be selling to. You soon realised that was going to be one of the positions that you played in market, and it seems that you've got some strategies in place where you're doing exactly that. How is that going, particularly based on what I just said about the churn? What could we be doing better as an industry to maybe educate marketers and agencies so we can progress the industry?
Yeah, sure, Denise. I think, and Adam sort of touched on it before too. What I found really interesting with what LinkedIn were doing was because they had access to the data, they were able to, I suppose, build strategies around it. I think what we've got to do is just sort of dip our toes in it and start, and that may be using something as simple as a SurveyMonkey and just getting it out there to the industry, the guys in the industry, whether it be the hiring managers down to, down across the ad ops levels, across to sales, campaign managers and so forth. And I think it's about asking, where are the areas that, where are the training gaps? Where are the areas that they would like to build confidence in? And where are the areas that the hiring managers feel like there are also areas that, that we need to focus on? And I think if we just get started and make that little step first, I think then it will just, dare I use the word, organically grow from there. And then we can look at our sort of our catchment area too, in terms of where is the talent pool coming from? Where can we go to? To your point, Denise, I've worked with some fantastic, technically savvy women and men that have been in the media industry for years, whether they've left work and returned back to the force, in terms of bringing those stable pillars to the organisation. I think that's really important because stability is important whilst there is churn going around. I don't know if we can necessarily sort of eradicate that totally. That's always going to happen. Media traditionally has been non-vocational, so you can dip in and out, and I certainly did. I fell into it, and a lot of people I think out there have. But it's about making sure that there is a clear path to the guys' points, and linking in with the universities and the educational bodies around us, with the MFA, and just start from there. And we've had great feedback. No one has ever said no to us going in and doing some training with them and getting the feedback, and that's been really positive. So I think that's a good first step. And based on the experience that I've had in the past to heading up training, previously at Network 10 and at MCN.
Excellent. Thank you, Yaz. Then we come to you next. And as we mentioned, you and I are part of an industry roundtable where we've identified a couple of areas where we can perhaps get some quick wins. We've identified some longer-term initiatives as well. And I know that that's what you're frustrated about because we need to get a little quicker in developing some of those longer-term initiatives. I'm on it, don't worry.
Good.
In my spare time, one of the areas, again, and Yasmin did touch on this, and Gavin touched on it as well, is the unis and colleges. And there does seem to be a sense, and certainly when I'm out in market, is that there is a disconnect between what's being taught in the colleges and the unis and the needs of the market. Now, I think that that's what I hear anecdotally. There was an article the other day by someone at Adobe that pointed to this as well. Just get your sense on why is that disconnect. From the sound of it, we're all trying to get in there to tell them what's going on, but are they not listening? Is what's going on?
Yeah, well, I think there's kind of three things that stand out to me. One is the age of our industry. We're still fairly young when you think about how old we are. I think that there's the understanding of what the actual skills gap is. So with the age of the industry comes individuals not having worked in the industry and then not clearly being able to understand or be able to articulate kind of what those gaps are. You know, they kind of go, okay, well, there's gaps in digital. It's like, well, hang on, digital's quite large. Let's be more specific. Okay, then it's ad tech, right? Okay, so where do we go? What roles are actually in this advertising technology industry where there's 2,000 players? Yep. So it's been able to actually define those. So the problem almost needs to come first and foremost. The problem's created. The problem is here now. Now it's about doing something about it. So that's kind of the third point is these bodies don't move quickly. You know, tertiary educations do not move quickly. I was speaking with a couple of the professors, Professor Nico, and he's been doing some work in kind of lobbying some of the universities around this skills shortage piece. And he said, you know, they are receptive to it. There's no question about that. But it's a process. You know, will it happen next term, next year? Probably not. Will it happen 2017 where they might introduce more technically focused courses? Probably. So yep. It's that cycle as well. So it certainly takes time. I was interviewing a young lady last week, it was, around a particular entry-level role into our organisation at Radium One. And she said to me something which really resonated was she has just written an article around universities and universities not really skilling, well, the university she went to, not skilling her for the real world. And I thought, wow, that's so interesting. So we're hearing about it come at us from all different directions, but here's someone who's gone through it going, well, I've done a marketing degree, but I'm not skilled for what it looks like today. I thought that was really, really interesting. I've asked her to share it with me so we can get it out there and actually broadcast it from someone that's going through it. So, yeah, there are a couple of things that I think are probably the kind of the reasons for that disengagement, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point. And the industry does it move so fast that by the time you put a course together, put it in market, it's almost like it needs refreshing again. Just to pick up on a point too, I spoke to a head of a media communications course at a Queensland uni this morning, and she actually made a really interesting point. So point without notice, because of course we do a little bit of discussion about what we're going to speak about. But she also said that we have to, as an industry, be a bigger industry that people want to have a career in. She actually also made a point, on occasion, they will have a lecture at 7 o'clock at night that will go for an hour, and some of the people who are involved in media agencies need to go back to work. So I think that, again, you know, it's great for us to talk about this and to come up with some solutions, but we also need to be an industry that looks after our people. Pay and hours, and recognises that we have a life and that sort of thing. Perhaps that's a discussion for another day. Gavin, wanted to come to you next. Great to get your input on some of the points that have been discussed. I know that you're quite active with some of the unis and colleges and so on. But a point that you raised in our pre-discussion really struck me as well. We talk increasingly about digital and data-driven decision-making and so on. Are we also forgetting the skills that are required to develop creativity and insight? So perhaps those more human-driven skills. Amongst all this, the tech and the ad tech and the martech, we still need to be human and the skills that are required with that. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting challenge that we're facing because, as Adam was saying, the technology changes. So every technology vendor is changing something every month. And so that means there's new functionality, there's new approaches, there's maybe a new new technique, there's better data or a change in the way that the data is being structured. So you need to be on top of all those things. And if you times that out by, say, you've got 5 technologies, and you've got all these things happening. That's what 60 changes in 1 year, just across your portfolio of stuff that you're looking after. So just keeping on top of the tech is hard enough, and then to do something that is creative, that makes use of the technology, that puts the data into play, that engages your audience, that does something intelligent or surprising or lovely, is really, really hard, because you're just constantly just trying to be a technician rather than being a creative. And I think that's a massive challenge that we face. It's not just about the technology, it's about how we use it and how we skill ourselves up and how we feel. I think to Yasmin's point early on, you mentioned confidence. And I think that confidence thing is that we just don't have the confidence because everything we do has so much weight and expectation on it. And so therefore we're having to, we reduce our risk. We're less creative. We use the technology not to its full capacity. And so therefore it doesn't quite hit the mark, and yet it's doing the best we can within our own constraints.
I think coming back to Adam's point too, and Gavin, it is still such early days, and I think sometimes we forget that, the whole digital economy. You think about how much it's changed just in 5 years. It's changed enormously, and really, in the scheme of things, that's such a small amount of time. But I think there are definitely some areas that we could be doing a little better, and indeed we're trying with the industry, with the skills shortages roundtable and a couple of other industries. I'm increasingly connecting with some of the unis. Just today on MediaScope's newsletter, I put together a resources guide. So 2 new MediaScopes in the market with resources and information that students can tap into, because they have to keep, they have to take it on themselves also to keep updated with the industry. It's not something that can be taught in a training session or at a uni. You need to immerse yourself, I think, in this kind of market that changes so quickly.
Yeah, it's like doing you're learning by doing, just like a blab.
Just like a blab. That's exactly right. Just to finish up this part of our conversation, is there anything I really want to just get by a quick question at you and get a really quick answer and go to each of you, but a quick solution, a quick win solution that we can actually put in place, each of us in a small way, today, tomorrow. What's something that we can do quickly for some quick wins to address this major industry issue? Yaz, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, I think, look, it's pretty quick to whack up a survey and pull together 10 key questions and just start getting the beginnings of insights and just getting out there. I think once you're getting out there, you're getting feedback from the guys, which will steer in the direction of where we need to be in terms of where we need to be training them. So even starting with small groups, it's pretty easy.
Very good. Another thing for my list, Yaz, thank you. Yeah.
Happy to help.
Thank you. Gavin, quick win. What can we do what's a quick solution?
Reverse mentoring. So bringing in young people and mentoring them with older executives, and then also reversing that as well. So you've got young people teaching the older executives, and you've got older executives mentoring the younger people as they come through.
That is such a great point. And a term that I picked up on a few months ago was a term called the unicorn. And that's really what that's the kind of person we're trying to find in the industry now. And they're called a unicorn, of course, because they don't exist. They're a person with experience, market knowledge, market connections, that sort of thing, but also an understanding, a good understanding of all the tech and so on that's coming in. Now, those two things don't necessarily go hand in hand. I always think too, understanding the tech and so on, that's the easy bit. The experience and the connections and so on is the hard bit. So yes, I think that's a great suggestion, Gavin. I'm going to put that on my list of things that we can do, and we'll talk about that at the roundtable in December. Adam, some quick wins from you.
Actually, before I get into it, I just need to say that, Gav, you look like Jonesy off Jonesy and Amanda. Has anyone ever told you that? Just look at it. First time I've seen you. Looking at you there, go WSFM. Are you sure? You got a voice for radio too.
That's right. He's got a T-shirt on.
He's got a legit radio too. You just need the golden mic, Gavin, perhaps.
Yeah. Golden mic, Kyle Sanderlands.
Yeah.
So I guess there's a couple of things here. Firstly, is the unicorn. The other term that I've heard for these type of kind of individuals that we need to get into the industry are T-shaped individuals. So those that can go quite broad and also quite deep. And then kind of get out. So T-shaped skill set, which is quite unique in itself. So I think that the thing that we can do is bring new talent into the industry. So employ not based on experience, but based on traits.
Yep.
You know, are these people? Do they have a great attitude? Are they quick learners? You know, what is it about them that's going to mean they're going to be successful in the industry? But we're not moving them around within ourselves. They've come from somewhere else.
And that certainly seems to be something that's spoken about in the market as well, Adam. You're exactly right, is that you're right, we're looking for specific traits rather than skills. The skills can be taught, the traits are a lot harder to find.
Sure.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for talking about skill shortages. Is there anything someone would like to say just to finish this part of the blab before we move on to our media weeks? No? I'll take that as a no. But I might also, I know Yaz has got some stats, so what I'll do is I'll put them up on a page on MediaScope, just so everyone can have a look at that. And I will again reach out to Nick at LinkedIn and see if there's some other kind of information that I can get just to inform a decision on this. Let's now move and talk about our media week. It's hot today, been a busy week for everyone, I think. Yaz, what's been on your radar this week, either for yourself, but also for the industry in general?
Hunter Valley. He was in the Hunter Valley drinking wine.
Oh, so I did follow a little bit of it on Twitter.
Some credibility now. We had a great time at 3-day workshop at the Data Symposium, which was really insightful. Obviously, I'm a TV gal, so data is something that I am learning quick and fast in terms of all the other bits and pieces that fall into programmatic and data-driven trading and all that sort of stuff. But I think that the key thing for me, because of the work that I'm doing in terms of linear programmatic TV, is super exciting. It's middle of the upfront season for all of the broadcasters, and really excited to hear that a lot of them are focusing on tech and innovation, which is great. And in particular, SBS actually announcing that they will be doing, moving towards programmatic TV, which is fantastic for the industry, and it's an indication that the market is heading that way. So I thought that was a great piece of news this week.
The ABC also announcing they'll be moving to streaming for their main channel on December 1. Not that, not from an advertising point of view that affects us, but certainly affects us from something else. Now, someone, I don't know you, AJ Innovator is saying, nice headset, Gav. He's giving us a nice headset. Thank you very much. Gavin says thank you. Really good point. And Yaz, I agree. The TV sector at the moment, very exciting. I have a MediaScope for the TV sector, of course, that I will be spending all of Monday updating. There has been so much activity in that sector over the last couple of weeks. And I've said this a couple of times, but that's the MediaScope that's keeping me busy at the moment compared to the digital MediaScope, which for years...
We're catching up.
Catching up, lots of activity there. The digital MediaScope, not so busy at the moment, which is interesting in itself. Gav, your media week, what have you been up to?
Yeah, it's interesting. This skills topic is really hot. So I'm going over to Denmark actually in a couple of weeks to talk skills over there as well. And so it's interesting that this topic is not an Australian only problem. So while we're bringing in plenty of people from overseas, we're also seeing the same issues being faced by the industries in other countries. And so that's interesting. I think the angle around having generalists, a bunch of generalist skills rather than the deep skills. So, but maybe 2 or 3 deep skills amongst your your arsenal of weapons in your marketing world is where we need to be, and that all takes time. So even if we think that it takes a couple of years to build up these skills, it takes us so much longer to actually turn them into something that connects the dots for our careers and also for our clients. So what I think is interesting is this emergence of more innovation in the space, and funnily enough, it's being led by TV. But it's kind of interesting that is taking place because it's taken a long time to get the wheels in motion, and now we're starting to see that play out. That's going to drive a lot more challenge in our skill shortages areas. And what we'll also find, I think, is the emergence of smaller projects. So innovation projects that run as almost like little innovation sprints rather than big projects, so that you get some runs on the board, you try something out, you test whether it works, you've got some good analytics and data, you've got your digital versions, you've got your free-to-air versions, you've got a whole range of things all happening, and then whatever works according to hopefully creativity, but also data, that you're actually delivering some really high value into your audience base.
That's all we want, isn't it? Just relevance and high end value for the audience. Yeah.
That's all. How hard could it be?
When you say it like that, it just seems so simple, doesn't it? Thank you, Gav. Denmark, very nice.
Nice.
A bit cooler over there than here today.
It's going to be cold.
What a welcome relief after the day we're having in Sydney today.
Yeah.
Adam, your media week, what have you been, aside from the data symposium, which does sound like it was a good knees up, what else has been on your radar this week, and anything particular for next week?
One thing that's really resonated with me from the data symposium was this thing that IBM is doing. I don't know if you guys have heard of Watson. So this is, we're in this cognitive era. So this is where, toys start to learn and reason and kind of rationalize things, which is kind of really interesting and something that I've taken from that. So I think we're moving to this world where those business models that are going to disrupt are going to be those cognitive ones. If you've watched the movie like iRobot, that kind of brain center which is running and learning in real time, and more than just Siri, who, if you ask Siri, she just kind of Googles stuff. This is a world that it's like the human brain. I think that really resonated with me, and then the application and what it means for businesses that I've worked in, that I look for in the future. So cognitive era, check it out, IBM Watson.
And we've got a comment from Luke Grange, who's watching us live. You've hit on a nugget, Adam. The power of cloud computing and machine learning is here. Very good. Might also, in the same breath, watch for some comments from Stephen Hawking on that, who actually also raises a slight alarm bell in regard to all the artificial intelligence. The yin and the yang, we also have to be aware that, we are the ones, I suppose, telling the machines what to do, and we don't really want it to be so much the opposite. But yeah, I agree, a really exciting time, exciting time ahead. Okay, thank you so much for joining us for the 7th live Friday chat. We've had a great discussion about skill shortages. This is an issue for our industry that isn't going anywhere, so it might be something that I actually talk about fairly often. The Skill Shortages Roundtable, we're meeting again, I think, in December. So slowly but surely we're making some good inroads there and communicating and collaborating with industry as much as we can. Next week on the live chat, I'll be talking to JJ Eastwood and Colm from Publift. Even though we've touched on it a little bit today, we're going to be talking about programmatic and automated trading. I also, of course, as part of that conversation, want to bring up the big issues such as ad blocking, viewability, ad fraud. We all know the list. We'll be talking about that. Yeah. Don't tell me. And just really get some good conversation going on that level. So, look, thank you so much again for joining us, everyone. As I said, this live chat will be on MediaScope, or the replay will be on MediaScope in about an hour. And please join us again next week.